what happened was when my daughter was born and I went looking for this sound I had in my head, I was working on a solo record. It was my first solo record after the Del Fuegos, and and it was, you know, it was the adult themes, old girlfriends and drinking, and I put that out right at the, and while I was doing that, you know, I hadn't been able to find this all ages music that I was looking for in the Tower Records, so I thought I would make it myself one fall and have it be, I would make a cassette that I could give out to families in the neighborhood just as a holiday present. Not holiday music, but it would be just handmade music for families. And so I made this cassette and gave it out to everybody. And what happened was no one cared about my solo record, but everybody wanted more copies of this cassette that I called it Rocket Ship Beach. And I really had fun making it. I made it in 3 weeks, and I just had a reel-to-reel 8-track, and it just turned out to be. And I thought, and we were mostly updating folk songs and bringing in friends from the neighborhood who included West Indian babysitters that I had met. Sheryl Crow lived around the corner. Suzanne Vega came in to do a tune. Some guys that I met, we had a string band and we played. And so it's just that. It was just real homemade community fun. And people were way more interested in this cassette than they were in my expensive solo CD. And as much as I liked it, I felt like a useful member of society for the first time in a long time, because making pop music for me was always a very self-centered activity. It was always, you know, what's in it for Dan, and I felt like making this family music, I had possibilities where I could actually, I had something to give other people, and that I could be, you know, I could be the guy who shows up with the guitar or the banjo and gets people singing along, and you know, I could somehow, when you can do that, you get invited to a lot more parties, and that was, you know, that wasn't lost on me, and I decided that I would stop pop music and I would just move into family music and totally devote my time and energy to it, and it wasn't part of my big master plan, but it was certainly, when it kind of revealed itself, deciding to go into it was by far the best decision that I've made in my adult life. I don't know if I think of this as being educational. I feel if the minute I hear someone else tell me that what they're doing is educational, that's when my interest level plummets. So I feel like in my heart, I believe it is educational, but I would never say that because I'm an entertainer. I really am. I'm not an educator. But I do believe that, for me, my experience is that music is my window to the outside world, and it always has been through my entire life. And it still is. This is the beginning. For example, we made a CD called Nueva York, and it's all songs from different parts of Latin America. And we collaborated with a lot of our Latino friends around here in New York. And before beginning to make this CD, my knowledge of the different parts of Latin American culture, or the cultures of Latin America, my knowledge was so limited. But it was through the music, and then of course immediately after that is food. And then from there it gets, you know, politics, geography, worldview, you know, everything else unfolds from that. So, and I've always tried, in making our CDs, we've always tried to include the neighborhood as much as possible. And I think that I always try and think, I grew up in New Hampshire, and which is kind of a white monoculture. It's changed, you know, it's certainly at that time it was, but it's changing a little bit, slowly, fortunately. But you know, so I think about the kids that live in those parts of the country, and thinking about if they get one of my CDs and they listen to it and they hear people from different backgrounds coming together and making music and singing in different languages, you know, there's always we always try to have an element of that, just because I think that we get an opportunity to create a little world here with these CDs, and the world is a joyous one, and communal music making is a joyous experience. So we really do try and, you know, I may not think of these as being educational, but I definitely have an agenda. It's the reason that I'm so passionate about music, and the reason that I believe in music so much, is because this is for my entire life. Since I was 7 or 8 years old, music has been the most important thing to me, and it's gotten me through the good times and the bad times, and it's opened my eyes in a way that nothing else was able to. I know for other people, other art forms might do it, but for me it was always music. And I think that what I've noticed since I started making family music, what's become very clear to me is that America used to be an incredibly musical country as far as casual, communal, amateur music making. There used to be a lot of it. And since the advent of recorded music, you know, in the last 100 years or so, what's really happened is that we've become very much consumers of music, and the music making has really dwindled. But I am optimistic, and I believe that electronic media, the very thing that turned us into consumers, or that we allowed to turn us into consumers, will also help us to become music makers again. You know, it's so easy now to go online and get lessons, get guitar lessons, ukulele lessons, or to hear a song or get the chords to a song. You know, all those things I used to have to go to the music store for. You know, I would have to go down and look at the songbooks and try and write the chords down in my notebook and all that stuff. But now it's all right there. So I think I do think it's gonna turn around, because I think we're hardwired to participate in music making, and that's been, you know, probably preceded language. You know, I think singing and music making was probably our original form of communication. So it's an essential part of being a human. And the thing is that it's, you know, what I also, I mean, that the other thing is that it is an incredibly joyous experience, and why leave that to the professionals? I mean, I love my job, but really this is something we could all be doing.